What matchup are you looking at in particular for this set?
Aquarius versus Benji for sure. Also Mask versus Scream in the jungle, but the right side of the map versus the right side of the map for LG and E United. Scream and Benji have really dictated the pace for E United in every single set. They haven't really lost map control on the right side yet so far this split. So if Luminosity can wrench that away from them, how is E United going to respond? And on the other half, will Luminosity be able to handle the pressure that Benji and Scream are going to bring?
Some bans already look like specifically for that solo lane matchup come out. We see Kakulin and Osiris, the early bans, and then Ratatosker, who's been a huge pickup over these last few weeks, is going to be that first selection for Mask on LG.
Terra taking it away from Jeff, loves that god, and RTO right as well. So LG had the option to go for the RTO, but E United has shown zero worry about going up against RTO. I mean, they're undefeated and usually leave her open more so than other teams do. Clearly very comfortable in that matchup, so not surprised that LG didn't take it. But Benji also can look phenomenal on it. So E United has really figured out this character, both playing with it and against it.
It's not just scooping them both up, but banning out Ganesh, really limiting some of those support options. But I trust Jeff Hinlow on just about every Guardian in the game, so I'm sure he'll be fine whatever he ends up picking up, as Sherket is the one that's locked in for E United, likely to be their jungle.
Just getting more mobility, a little bit more early pressure as well. RTO, not the usual Guardian that can't fight in the solo lane early on, so that's the 2v2 that E United want to go with. RTO and Sherket up against Ratatosker and whatever solo laner Luminosity is going to go for.
Now they're banning out the Fafnir as well as the Cabrakan, so still some eye on some of these tankier Guardians is E United, as it was Raijin and Jingwei that rounded it out for LG. They do ban out the Nox and the Amuz and Cobb as well, trying to limit some of the mid and Hunter options as Kronos is picked up.
Kronos probably going to Ven in the mid lane. He has that god in his god pool, that late game sort of mid-mage ADC sort of feel to it, as Geb and Chalk. No surprise to see Aquarius go for Chalk, one of his most comfortable characters, just really trying to get pressure in that solo lane up against the RTO. And honestly, not a bad matchup into RTO because her dash is a little bit slower than most and takes a little bit of time to go off. That Chalk silence from his ultimate can probably get there in time to cut off the dash from Benji's RDO.
It also feels like a pick where I just want to make sure, like you said, I don't lose the lane. It's real tough for Chalk to end up getting behind. The sustain that he's able to have with that heal, the big clear coming out from his hammer toss as well is real strong. E United, though, they do pick up that Artemis, so that's someone who can show up real big late game out of that Hunter role.
And it's Panda Cat, man. He loves this god. He's always loved this god, and no surprise to see him pull it out in a game that, while it doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, first seed very important, don't get me wrong, and I'm sure E United won it, but even if they drop this game, they've still got game 2 to fall back on. This isn't do or die for them, or for Luminosity for that matter, but this is a game that E United want to win, because their game up against Trifecta was without Snoopy. They didn't get a chance to prove that they were the far better team in that matchup despite their 2-0 because of that sub. E United want to make sure that everyone knows that they're the best team in North America.
And we talked a little bit at the end there, in particular, about the matchup between Panda Cat and Barracuda here. Barracuda, one of the big stars for Luminosity. I think no one would have any trouble with that statement. How do you feel about the matchup with the mobile Jingwei going into this Artemis, who doesn't really have any more movement ability, just some extra movement speed on her too?
Very difficult to get away for Panda Cat. If Barracuda can get a lead, I mean, we saw what Met Yankee did to Wowie on the AMC last game, where he's pushing a tier 2 tower and Wowie shows up and Met just turns on the gas and runs him down very quickly. That same interaction can happen in this matchup, but if Panda Cat's the one with pressure, Barra will have the tools to get away from the Artemis, but won't really be able to outbox him in any sort of way. These are two characters that have innate critical strike chance built into their kit, so it can be a little bit weird.
Basket, I think, drops the beads already in the mid lane, and now he's going to be under some pressure from Polar Bear Mike and Venenu, and the sprint comes out too, so lots of relics used in this mid lane, trying to establish pressure where Jeff Hinla and Baskin up against Polar Bear Mike and Venenu, as our two Panda Cat and Barracuda, our two AD carries, do start solo over there in that left-hand side.
Baskin pre-beads is there because that's the best counter to Raijin's early clear. He's the best level 1 clearer right now, except for Zeus, if you can just sit there and auto-attack the wave down with your Aegis Assault, and you want to stun him out. Polar Bear Mike's there to stun him out. That's why Venenu actually levels his stun instead of the time stop, or the time rift, excuse me, in order to stop that clear. So Baskin pre-beads, but Ven and PBM both wait and just wait it out and end up stunning him anyways. He takes a lot of damage, has to use his only health potion, and now still doesn't have the purification beads.
Aquarius and Mask were able to successfully invade that right-hand side, too. We can see that blue buff around the waist of Aquarius, who's piloting Chalk, which can make life pretty difficult on Benji without that blue buff, since she is a stance switcher. Is that something that's going to be a big deal for him?
Stance switchers definitely need blue buff in order to at least be comfortable. Now, not every single stance switcher cannot survive without it. I mean, Ullr goes without it all the time, but that is a reason that a lot of Ullrs like to build Transcendence. Having access to more abilities is just more mana that you want to be spending to clear the wave, to poke out the opposition. So yeah, that blue buff is a loss for Benji, but more importantly than that, he lost the golden experience that the early blue buff provides. This means Aquarius is going to be level 5 significantly before Benji, because not only did LG get the blue buff on the right-hand side, but these fire elementals as well.
And we were talking about how they were going to start off Aquarius and Mask with the advantage over here on the right-hand side, or that's what they were going to be looking for. Baskin and Jeff Hinla got it in the mid lane, too. Like, they were able to rotate over and help secure those oracles along with Barracuda. So now it seems like on both sides of the map, Luminosity have the early pressure, and we see that culminating in about a 500 or so gold lead for him already.
And right now, not a big deal, but on the first rotation of buffs, that's where you'll see Luminosity try and push this early advantage that they've gotten for themselves.
Yeah, the important thing is going to be, can they go over there and invade on this blue buff several times? Can they go over and deny that farm and the mana sustain onto Benji several times? They are already here for those fire elementals on its second spawn. You saw that Benji had to go back. So that's all. This is where the lead starts to become a lead. It's really not a lead so far, just kind of like an early advantage. This is where it starts to move into a lead for him.
And you heard Ron on the desk say that these two teams are scrim partners. They play against each other a lot, and this sort of total night and day difference in team compositions between the two is pretty interesting to me. Luminosity, they said, we want pressure early, we want to invade, we want to fight you in the early game and get map control. And that's what United has done to a lot of different teams so far this split. They go for Ratatoskr, Raijin, Chalk, gods that are going to bring that early game pressure. United, they go almost entirely late game between the Terra, which does bring decent early pressure, but the ultimate becomes more and more valuable as the game goes on. Artemis, late game carry. Chronos, late game carry. Guardian in the solo lane. Even though it's RTO, it's still a Guardian. Interesting sort of difference between the two.
Mask goes up in the air. Looks like the call is to invade on speed buff this time. Cataclysm comes out from Jeff Hinla, and it's Polar Bear Mike, the one who's in a lot of trouble. The ultimate from Baskin helping as well. Not able to get away. First blood going to Baskin in mid, and Scream might be in trouble too.
Scream already used the ultimate onto Baskin. Good damage onto the mid laner, and Benji's going to get the first blood for United. But Sprint pops, trying to get Ven and Benji away, as Scream's going to go back in here because Mask is low.
Going aggressive at Scream, but there's Aquarius with that Chalk ultimate and the silence and the slow. Lets him get a return kill. So far, it's 2 for 2 between the two teams. Venenu had a chance even to come be a part of this engagement, putting some good return damage onto Aquarius as they back off. 2 for 2.
Aquarius is just about a half second too late on that Chalk ultimate. If he pulls the trigger just a moment earlier, he may have actually been able to save Mask, because that was a huge Chalk ult, knocking up and silencing 3 members of United. It goes 2 for 2. United secure their own speed, but it's Luminosity who gets first blood. So LG, despite potentially they could have come up on top a little bit better than they did, are still going to be happy with the result.
And both the kills end up going on to Benji, who we talked about on this RDO could have a little bit of a hard time, maybe fall behind Aquarius, as we do see there is a bit of an experienced lead for Aquarius over there, probably just from their early pressure. So it does help that RDO is able to get some of that back, whereas the kills are spread out between Baskin and Aquarius on the side of Luminosity.
But first blood going to Baskin is very important, because that's an extra boost of gold for him, and he can try and keep that ball rolling in the early game. Venenu, while doing decent damage and having decent CC at this stage, is not going to be anywhere near as effective as Baskin could be on the Raijin.
And we talked a little bit as Baskin actually goes to the ultimate with Mask through the Cosmos, landing on top of Venenu, who gets deleted. Baskin getting a second kill. Mask, though, might be trapped underneath the tower, taking a lot more aggro than he meant to, but it switches over to Baskin and keeps him alive. 1 kill there for Luminosity.
Really nice play by LG there, recognizing that Venenu, even with his beads up, didn't have the rewind available. Baskin cuts off his entrance into the mid lane, and you saw how early that developed just from the pathing that Jeff Hinla took. While United's doing the oracles, Jeff already starting his rollout to get towards the mid lane because of how much information LG had about where Venenu was. To me, that's Baskin saying, hey, he's coming in here, we can kill him. It's either Baskin or Mask, because both of them are so early onto their ultimates right away, trying to capitalize on Ven's positioning.
And this is Luminosity playing their early pressure comp to a T. They're not letting this late game Chronos farm for free in the mid lane. They're using the semi-global presence of Mask on Ratatoskr to have an impact across the whole map as Benji takes a little bit of trouble. Jeff Hinla is here as well. Lots of pressure coming in. Aquarius gets the silence off. Cataclysm just a little bit off the mark thanks to the sprint that came out from Benji, so they don't clean up the kill.
Sprint and Terra's Blessing, the difference maker there for Benji. Aquarius has that horrific emblem to put the slow onto Benji, who needs to be a little bit more careful about where his positioning is, even as that Guardian. So much damage out of Ratatoskr and Chalk at the early stages.
Here for speed buff, though, are Mass, Jeff Hinla, Baskin, and Aquarius. Feels like almost all the Luminosity. They successfully steal it away, and they stack it on top of Mass this time. So one more small win in favor of Luminosity.
Small win back for United, though, because Mask used the purification beads after getting stunned out. I think he got his dash caught there by Polar Bear Mike's walls, and that's why he decided he needed a beads just to be safe. Hindsight being 2020, Mask could obviously hold those beads, but when you're stunned, you can't move your camera around to see who's going to be attacking you. It's better to be safe than sorry in that instance.
And over here on this duo side, we did see Panda Cat come down and fight with Barracuda over this red buff. No one's picking it up either, so I think that Panda Cat was able to successfully take that one away. So yet another small win for E United as you see Panda Cat and Barracuda kind of slapping it out. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit. It seems like E United with their composition, even though it is late game, it all seems really single target focus, maybe kind of pick focus. Is that something that could impact their team fights going a little bit later?
Not a lot of AoE from E United, but they've got so much single target damage that I don't know how much that's actually going to hurt them. Now, if Jeff can come up with the clutch shield on the initial initiation target, save that first person as E United uses a lot of their burst, and then Luminosity can turn it around, yeah, that's got to be a worry for E United. But they also do have a decent amount of AoE when it comes to their CC, and that's Panda Cat's ultimate. That's going to cover a big ground, one at a time, but it's going to hit multiple people in a team fight.
And it's faster now
for Luminosity, yeah. Much faster. Benji's going to have multi-target CC on that RTO. Scream, more single target. Veneno can hit multiple with his stun. Polar Bear Mike's the guy that can spread a big slow out throughout the entire engagement and a stun as well. So it's not as single target in terms of CC, more so in terms of damage.
That's what's going to be important for United, getting the most out of their abilities that can hit through multiple targets. I mean, if they stack up, even Scream can have an impact on multiple members. So Luminosity might want to try and find some kind of way to spread out when they go into the engagements and not let them get hit by multiple instances of the same abilities in these engagements. But Luminosity doing a good job, already getting up to almost 2,000 gold in the lead with this early pressure that they drafted. Trying to build on that is going to be their goal moving forward.
Biggest lead, most important lead in my mind is Mask. 2 levels up on Scream right now in the jungle, and he's already working towards an Ankile, trying to get that little bit of tankiness and power at the same time with that hybrid physical power, magical defense item on the Ratatoskr. Very good against Terra, who wants to hit you in multiple stages. You can kind of get that silence onto her, and then you don't have to worry about getting stunned out quite as quickly. Mask is the guy to keep watching. Can he interrupt Benji's dash? If he steps in front of Benji's dash, the silence comes out and stops it in its tracks.
And you were saying that Scream's falling a little bit behind Mask. Who is Scream's target at this point with that Circuit in this early game? Or is he just looking to try and stick around until he can find a way in? His Mask actually goes up in the air. They want this speed buff again.
It's Aquarius on the right-hand side in a little bit of trouble. Is Scream going to put the ultimate onto him? No more healing for the Chalk, but still safe because Jeff Hinla's here, and Veneno has to rewind. Lots of damage onto him off a nice Cataclysm from Jeff.
And he ends up going right back into Baskin and Barracuda, though, does Veneno. Baskin gets to clean that one up, go up to 3-1. 1-0. Even gets a little bit of a pullback out, but Mask too far forward, gets deleted. Baskin also very low, and Benji right there to clean that one up.
Barra already up into the airstrike. He stole away the speed buff, so he's on the run. No one going to be able to catch that slippery Jingwei, especially with the speed. It goes 2 for 1 in United's favor, but they lose the speed buff. United probably okay with that. Scream doesn't need speed right now. That extra farm from the assists makes up for the lost buff.
And Scream able to come over here and once again take away the red buff. This is off of Panda Cat's Invade. They have the timer on it now, so that means when this team fight kind of spreads everyone out and Barracuda made the rotation as the back, they come over here, take this buff, and try and get a little bit more farm onto Scream, who needs it.
And Panda Cat being right there as Barracuda's at that speed buff invade on the right-hand side, 10 minutes in, to expect both hunters to be on the right side of the map is not particularly common.
Yeah.
And you got to give credit where credit's due, because Panda Cat on Artemis, you expect him to get out-rotated heavily, especially against a Jingwei who has so much mobility. But Panda Cat's just a step or two behind Barracuda and ends up making just as big, if not more, of an impact than Barra did.
And the impact that Aquarius and Benji are going to be having is going to be extra important, because Luminosity have sort of made a point now to go after that speed buff every time it respawns. Usually once we pass this 10-minute mark, you can see a bit of a focus shift, because those fire elementals don't spawn anymore to the left-hand side, as they are fighting over those oracles and split them evenly. But Luminosity want to keep pushing in. Mass lands down on 2. Veneno gets knocked up, as does Polar Bear Mark. He's already half health and goes right into that rewind, but it's going to pull him back into trouble. In the back, though, now is Scream along with Panda Cat. They stack up and let him get some good damage out. Baskin's here, though, on top of those Taiko drums, cashing out Venenu as well as Scream. Quick double kill for Luminosity.
Polar Bear Mike solo. Panda Cat doing his best to save his support's life, but Barra and Baskin gonna combine for the double. Both duo lane members go down for E United. 4 dead in total for LG. And anytime you can get a 3 to 4 man Cataclysm like Jeff Hinla did there, you're already off to a great start in that team fight.
And I get what happened. That one felt kind of layered for United, like maybe extended. It wasn't a quick burst that happened. So even though the initial engage from Luminosity looked good, United had a moment where they thought they were the ones in charge, but Baskin rotates in with the Taiko drums, cleans up, helps clean up 2 members. Now not just getting the Gold Fury, but also the Portal Demon, because still everyone's just walking back from base.
Benji, the only United member here, and he is that tanky solo lane guardian, but it's going to be tough to steal it away in between 5 people from Luminosity. It does glow blue for LG. Jeff Hinla might be the casualty for it, though.
Jeff Hinla ends up getting isolated, this root trying to land from Benji, and it does. They end up cleaning him up, but with what Luminosity took across the map, Gold Fury and Portal Demon, as well as those 4 kills, it's still going to come out worth. They're up about 5,000 gold now, and 8-5 in the kills.
Very dedicated focus from Luminosity onto E United's mid laner, Venenu, just trying to shut down this late game Chronos as quickly as possible. Every single team fight, it's been about baiting out Rewind and then re-engaging afterwards. And we mentioned that 4-man Cataclysm from Jeff Hinla, but Barracuda got put into a bad spot by Scream's ult. What does Barra do? He just turns around and airstrikes the 4 members that Jeff just stunned. So much AoE damage there from Luminosity, and E United just didn't really have a response.
And that's what it feels like was the big difference in that team fight to me as well, was that Luminosity do have a little bit more AoE at their disposal than E United had. They were clumped up over there in that jungle, but it ends up going Luminosity's way. Now they can start trying to use that lead across the map. United do have a moment to breathe, though, with Portal Demon and Gold Fury going down. There's not really a big neutral objective on the map they have to worry about. They can take this chance to try and get resituated, get some vision back on the map, and be prepared for Luminosity's next push.
And Scream was able to secure his own speed, Barra able to secure his own red, so even the buff invades have kind of gone to the wayside, at least for the moment, without any neutral objectives, as you mentioned it. You don't want to force fights when you don't have to. Luminosity is saying we can wait out a little bit, but they can't afford to be too patient, because, as we mentioned, E United's team composition is late game focused.
It's scary.
Even with Venenu being 0-3, still working towards what's probably going to be a Magi's Blessing, is going to be a Magi's Blessing there right after his Book of the Dead is completed. As soon as he gets some more safety, it's going to be much harder for Luminosity to execute in these team fights. So while it's okay for them to be patient for the moment, they can't afford to wait too long.
And how do you feel about this Matt, guys? He has been getting blown up, but I don't know that crowd control's really been the problem. It's felt like he's kind of gotten burst or for his ultimate forced out, and then he gets bursted down when it's not available.
It's been a lot of beads baiting and then using the ultimate, the CC from Baskin's ultimate, the CC from Mask's ultimate, as now he's on the left-hand side looking for Panda Cat, who uses that Caledonian board to try and give himself some CC immunity, but this is the vulnerability of Artemis. Barracuda going to be able to find that one for Luminosity. Took a couple ultimates, though, and now it's E United trying to re-engage.
And Venenu is the one that rotated in. Jeff Hinla, Cataclysms, just to keep him from going in on Barracuda, who got stunned. Rewind, not in time. Mass cleans Venenu up in this engage. A lot of damage that they're going to be without now. Barracuda jumping in aggressively, trying to help clean up Scream, and they back out, even though the stun comes out from PBM.
This could be a tower siege opportunity for Luminosity, but their wave is so far backwards that Scream's going to be able to heal up off back cams. Polar Bear Mike backing. Luminosity decide 2 members is enough for them. The Magi's Blessing for Venenu, I think, is a wise decision because it's a little bit cheaper than some of the other cloak options, and just getting an extra purification beads every 60 seconds is really, really impactful right there. I mean, he has to use the beads so early on because Jeff Hindla, as soon as Ven shows up, Cataclysm right away. Solo ult, who cares? It's onto the Chronos. So Luminosity has done so much focus onto him that getting an extra set of beads, which is what Magi's basically provides you with, will be impactful for him.
And for the gems that I've been earning these last couple of weeks, everything right now is on Mask, on this Ratatosker pick. That's why we've seen him be such a high-value pick. He's able to be all around the map. Yes, Panda Cat doesn't really have much mobility, but when he's able to land in and immediately force out his ultimate, even if that was someone maybe a little bit more mobile, with 3 members there on that side, he was likely going to die. He's top, or very near the top there, along with Aquarius of the player damage, and he's been involved in every single kill. He's been playing lights out.
This has been the first game all split for E United where Scream does not look like the best jungler in the game right now, in their current game. Mask looks like he's the one who's dictating where the team fights are going to be happening, and Scream is the one reacting. And that's the first time that's happened, all split to E United, and it's no surprise that Luminosity's ahead because of it.
And E United, I certainly don't want to say it's just Scream's been playing poorly, but it's just this pressure draft that Luminosity have picked up so far that's given them the ability to be the aggressors. Earlier on in the game, it was the speed buff. We'll fight around here. Even if it doesn't always go in our favor, we're going to continue to make it an issue. Now they can spread that across to other areas of the map, put some pressure like we saw onto Panda Cat, and with the Gold Fury respawning, I wouldn't be surprised if we see continued aggression on this dual lane side to try and set that objective up.
Luminosity's in a great spot to force this fight at Gold Fury. They're up a good amount of gold, about 5,500. And E United can't afford to give up another Gold Fury, but they also don't really want to fight Luminosity right now because Venenu's beads are on cooldown for 15 more seconds. Not a big deal, but he hasn't finished off that Magi's Blessing. Now he's about to back to try and finish it off. If Luminosity recognize that, that could be the window to start up the Gold Fury, but look at where the rest of E United's positioned in response to Venenu needing it back. Scream on the left, PBM and Panda Cat stepping up towards that Gold Fury to make sure that LG don't try and exploit that window.
Can you talk to me about Baskin's build path right now? We see he's got that Spear of the Desolation finished off, but he ended up going with that tier 1 and the tier 1 of that Armored Cloak tree as well.
Well, he's going to go back and finish that pen eventually anyway, so he doesn't want to sell it as Gold Fury very, very low. Nice leash as Jeff Hindla immediately blinks on a Panda Cat who doesn't have to use the beads, just the ult.
And Mac is able to go back in on the Panda Cat now that the Cacnonian Boar is out. That's his chance to try and go down and slow out that immobile target. Benji gets here a hair before Aquarius, but he's right behind, and Benji takes the hammer to the face. A Barracuda ult aggressively, and that's it. Benji looks to be the call. They try and burn him down right away, but he goes back towards Baskin to try and shut him down. Unable to, Baskin gets the first casualty of this engagement as Luminosity looks to come back toward the Gold Fury.
Venenu's still pretty healthy here. Full HP, plus that little bit of health shield from Book of the Dead. Both relics rewind, but even with all those survival tools, he's not going to be able to get into that Gold Fury. Luminosity get a pick and the gold afterwards as well. Baskin almost ends up falling in that Tycho Drum's ultimate. Benji already doing plenty of damage on this RTO, but good reaction from Luminosity to turn around and peel for him. And going back to his build path, he started off the pen tree and realized, maybe I should get some extra protection. He's going to go back and finish off whatever penetration option that is between Obsidian Shard or Divine Ruin or Spear of the Magus. He's already got Spear of Desolation. So there's no real point in selling it, but he decided he needed some defense right now. So may as well sit on that 25 extra power for Magic Focus, work towards a Magi's Blessing of his own, and then come back and finish the pen when he needs it.
And Portal Demon's going to be the call for Luminosity. United recognizes that they're not even able to aggress on that one. Since Benji was the one that ended up falling in that engagement, I wanted to talk a little bit about the way that he came into the fight. It looked like United kind of realized they had to back off, but because Benji comes in through this path here between the tier 1 tower and the rest of the lane, he comes up on that top side, he kind of gets a little bit collapsed on and chooses to re-engage, and they start to fight from there. Was it just his pathing or because of miscommunication, or what happened there?
Probably a little bit of both. And Benji, the reason Benji feels like he can position so aggressively is because he's the only one on the map who isn't behind, besides him and Polar Bear Mike. So Benji's like, hey guys, this lane's been going fine. I'm top of the player damage charts. I'm fragging out. Let's go. We can fight this. And all the rest of United, Venenu's like, dog, I've died 4 times. Like, I don't want to fight right now. So Benji positioning like his team is even or ahead, because he is even or ahead, and the rest of his team is not, is where you see that disconnect happen.
And it looks like Scream is able to force out the Through the Cosmos from Mass, so that's at least a small win for E United. Not really anything up on the map to fight for in these next few minutes, though, so there'll be a chance for it to come back, but at least force that away.
Well, Mask has to use his ultimate there because he doesn't have any relics, and so he reacts to the blink sound from Scream with that CC immune channel of his own ultimate. Quick decision by Mask, and that ultimate Through the Cosmos, not on a particularly long cooldown anyways. He's got CDR between the Ankyle and the Gladiator Shield, 20%, working on some more with what could be a Breastplate of Valor, though I doubt that. It is going to be Hide of the Nemean Lion, which is a really good pickup into Artemis, who's going to crit you whether she wants to or not at times, and you can just return that crit damage right onto her.
And we talked a little bit about how Baskin chose to go to that Magi's Blessing. He's also been the one securing the last hit. It's not as if he's the one providing all the damage in the fight, but he's the one that's been able to clean it up with some of that long-range damage. And he's using some of that gold lead and some of the XP lead that he has, and it's tremendous. He's like 3.5 levels up on Venenu to try and give himself some extra survivability in these team fights, as now Luminosity want to push down this Tier 2 tower.
They've got a level 18 mid laner and a level 18 hunter, and that's why they're willing to try and push this in, as Mask meets Benji in the jungle, and both animals return a little bit of damage onto one another.
And I think that's where Benji needs to be. He's the one that, like you said, out in front, trying to keep Mass from looping around. Benji trying to get the root off on the Baskin. He does. Got that cripple field as well. Forced out the beats and the Aegis from Baskin early on in the engagement from very little commitment from E United. That's going to be big if Luminosity want to keep trying to push.
Benji just basically got 3 relics out from Baskin. He got the Magi's Blessing, the beads, and the Aegis, all on his own. So now it's Baskin who's going to have to be worried about the potential aggression from all of E United, not just Benji. Look for Scream to go blinking into the back line now that his blink is back up, and look for Basket right away, because he has been causing a lot of problems for E United.
And it's not just Scream that I'm going to be looking at. Jeff Hinla is going to be keeping in the back of his mind. There's 120 seconds where Baskin's going to need a little bit of extra help from that Geb shield. So if Jeff Hinla's wary of that, and I know he is, I trust Jeff Hinla with that, he's going to have to be the one to help keep Baskin a little bit alive if Scream chooses to make him a target, if Benji chooses to target him out one more time. Either way, though, it looks like Luminosity sort of backed up for now. Gold Fury still a minute away from respawning. Portal Demon a little bit away as well, so they don't have to force anything just yet.
Again, this favors E United because, yes, Luminosity's in the lead, and now it's a really substantial lead, about 9,000 gold. But E United's got those 2 ticking time bombs between Kronos and Artemis waiting for the late game to come in and allow their time to shine. Venenu's still very far behind in terms of his build. We're still waiting on an Obsidian Shard, has very little penetration so far. But eventually, with the Kronos passive that gives him extra power as the game goes on, it's going to become relevant.
And look how willing they are to back off when Benji can't be a part of the fight just yet. They recognize they'll just give up that red buff, no need for anyone to fall here over this small mini objective, and instead they let him take it. It goes on to Baskin now. He and Barracuda both have one, so they're going to be doing a lot of extra damage, and the Gold Fury is just about to respawn with Aquarius over here trying to keep Benji busy in the middle lane.
No one from E United even close to this Gold Fury. I can't imagine anyone's going to get here close enough in time, because Barracuda, without any inherent crit in his kit, only relying on the crits from explosive bolts, going full pen otherwise, trying to mitigate some of that damage coming out of Benji's Thorns. No Hide of the Nemean Lion quite yet, but don't be surprised if that's the item that Benji goes for right after Hide of the Urchin as well. Barra favoring this double lifesteal penetration build because he won't be killing himself as quickly on those Thorns and Nemean Lions.
And Luminosity need this game. If they want to take that first seed, and first seeding in NA I think might be a little more impactful than EU, where everyone up at the top is so close. Luminosity got to make sure they win. There's no take 2 for them. If they don't get both games, they're going to have to stay at that second seed and instead be going up against the third seed with them in that set. Now they choose to come over to the tier 2 and try and push the issue. United don't have a chance to set up a defense.
Now only 2 towers remaining for E United. Luminosity has taken every tower in the duo lane, both tier 1s in mid and right gone as well. And the Portal Demon being up, I imagine that's where Luminosity is going to start to focus their attention at least a little bit. Barracuda backs, but he's got that Rapid Reincarnation passive, which means that even if United decide that they're the ones who are going to try and sneak away this Portal Demon, Barra will be here very soon.
And United do establish some position over here in response to the rotation from Luminosity. They don't go for that Portal Demon right away, so United have a chance just to put down some wards, make sure nothing's getting snuck away from them, and then they do go ahead and back. Now they're going to recognize it's happening, but only Scream and Polar Bear Mike are in position to try and say anything about it, and I don't think they will. It goes down way too fast. Now they'll be able to back and come right back out to start off the Fire Giant.
Luminosity just feels like they're playing solitaire at this game. It's like, yeah, we'll take some of this, and you can fight us here, and we'll make you fight us there, but everything is Luminosity's decision. United has not been the aggressors really at all so far this game, and Luminosity's out to a huge lead because of it.
And it doesn't feel like they've taken one big swinging victory, just a lot of smaller ones. As Cataclysm comes out from Jeff Hinla onto 2 targets, Mask uses that as an opportunity to go up into the air with the Through the Cosmos, blinks in from Scream, but he lands down on Benji. It's Jeff Hinla, the one who's very low. Scream takes him out, and that's an easy first kill for United in this fight. Still going aggressive on the Panda Cat, though. Our Mask and Barracuda, he gets deleted. Mask gets credit for it, but anyway, to clean up Baskin, 2 for 2 actually so far in this engagement.
But it's Baskin and Jeff being dead means that that's a lot of damage and protection off the board for Luminosity. Problem is Barracuda still full HP, still has his Aegis, still has his ultimate as well. That's a win for United. They get Venenu a much-needed kill in a rare instance of miscommunication from Luminosity. Jeff Hinla went in before anyone else was ready.
Jeff Hinla went in for the Cataclysm, couldn't follow it up immediately, but Barracuda looks to rectify that now up into the air and trying to chase down Benji, but that dash is enough to create space. Portal Demon did end up falling in that last engagement too, so it didn't at least end up getting claimed, but now Luminosity, after giving up 2, looking to see if they can claim anything more from the jungle.
LG knew red buff was about to spawn. It's already been taken, though. That's why they all sort of immediately headed left into the enemy jungle, with Portal Demon being down, as you mentioned. Right T2 a little bit poked out, but without a minion wave and only Aquarius there to tank, would have been a little bit too risky for LG to go for another tower in that sense. And now Luminosity has to try and make an adjustment on what went wrong in that fight for them. No one looked at Venenu that time. Mask using his ultimate onto Benji because everyone else had spread out so much. Just a little bit too telegraphed on that engagement because Jeff Hinla had already blinked Cataclysmed, and Luminosity's kind of feeling like they need to make something happen if they expend such a big initiation tool.
In United right now, they are behind pretty significantly in this engagement, so being able to hold even in that engagement with Luminosity helps out, but now they got that Fire Giant already down below half. Benji, being the front line for them, ends up getting forced back by some of the damage from Basket, but they're able to get a little sustain from Polar Bear Mike's Monolith.
Barra again tanking up this Fire Giant, brings it down to about 50% HP, and now Mask immediately going to go up through the Cosmos. Terra's Blessing popped by Polar Bear Mike as well. Panda Cat is so far back, but he still might be the focus.
Mask drops down, not able to knock up anyone in particular, but it's Benji once again who's in the back. Scream ready to jump in as Baskin goes up into the air. Benji ends up falling, but Scream trying to find something, unable to in the back, so it's 1 for 0 so far in favor of Luminosity. Unite had to back up with PBM and Panda Cat solo.
Venenu still healthy, still has both relics and rewind again. Now United, his mid laner has just been kind of scot-free in these team fights because it's been Panda Cat, the focus. Scream does a nice job there of trying to get on top of Barracuda and force him out of the engagement, which he does successfully. But United still grouped in a tiny little corridor, makes it fairly easy for Baskin to rain the damage through.
And Venenu and Panda Cat don't feel comfortable coming up close enough in these team fights to get out a whole lot of damage. Instead, it has to rely on Scream and Benji to be the ones initiating. We saw Scream coming on the back end of the fight, but just not able to make enough happen for them to turn that one around. Now Luminosity back here in full force with all 5 members, and Benji still sitting on another 5 seconds where he'll have to respawn. Only PBM and Panda Cat are close enough to try and make something happen with Scream looping in.
Scream does have the blink, but no ultimate available for him as Fire Giant getting really low, and United decide they're going to just give this one up. No one else close enough besides PBM and Scream. Venenu wasn't there. Polar Bear Mike was close, but Panda Cat was not. Not a horrible decision from United, but again, it's just more like Luminosity is taking what they want when they want without a lot of input from United.
And that's why it feels like Luminosity have taken this game bit by bit instead of like some big like crashing victory that they take. It's because United haven't really had a chance to fight into it, or at least they haven't made the call to have any kind of big team fight in. Without Benji there, they don't really have a front line. They're not going to win the 4v4 without him. And in that engagement, Luminosity now have the Fire Giant. They take the tier 2 over in right. Scream does get this tier 1 in left in return for it, but it's really pennies on the dollar in comparison to what Luminosity were able to get.
In E United's late game carries that we've been talking so much about between the Artemis and the Kronos are getting closer. Obsidian Shard now done for Venenu and getting close to that Rod of Tahuti with the restored artifact completed as well. As soon as that rod comes up, Venenu becomes relevant immediately. Panda Cat's got chin size now. He's 5 out of 6 items completed. He's now relevant in terms of damage. Just a matter of can either of them survive long enough to get it off?
Well, the problem is that Mask is going with this really tanky build with the Spirit Robe, High Domain Lion, Ankyla, and Gladiator Shield. He and Aquarius are forming such a difficult front line that there hasn't really been a chance for Venenu and Panda Cat to get to the likes of Baskin and Barracuda to try and shut down some of the absurd amount of damage that they're putting out in these engagements. So whether or not Mask and Aquarius can be disruptive enough to keep them from attacking is what's going to be the real big impact as they try and make this last Phoenix defense.
Baskin takes one Phoenix shot in exchange for a third of Polar Bear Mike's health. That's fine by him. Jeff Hindler with the Blink Cataclysm doesn't really get a lot except for Panda Cat's ultimate on the backside as Mask now looking for Panda Cat, who still had the Purification Beads. Now Mask in a bit of trouble.
Jeff Hindler got way too locked down underneath that Phoenix. He takes his life almost for nothing. Benji's very low, though, so he won't be able to be a part of it. Aquarius got to try and find a way back out of the Phoenix as his whole team has all but abandoned him. Polar Bear Mike does lock him down. Scream's here to lock him down, pull him back into the Phoenix for one more shot, and a strong defense for E United as Luminosity had to turn tail and run.
Wow, all of LG. They don't even get a Phoenix there. Barracuda just, even with his damage onto the Phoenix with this full penetration build, not enough to bring it down. Jeff only hits one on the backside, and it's only Panda Cat. He trades out the ultimate, which means that when Mask comes down, Panda Cat has beads ready and Tusky waiting for Mask on the backside. Benji, meanwhile, is just in the entirety of Luminosity's backline, and when Jeff escapes to the backline trying to get to safety, he's got a big old bear waiting for him.
And it's not just that, Jeff Hindler doesn't really hit much of anything, but as you said, no one was really, he was stuck underneath the tower. No one was in position to even try and help him get back out. He took so much damage underneath the Phoenix from those shots from the rest of E United that he does end up falling. Now E United pick up the Portal Demon, still about 2 minutes before the Fire Giant respawns, so Luminosity had to worry about that, but they're showing they can fight under these Phoenixes, and they might even want to stick around for the Fire Giant.
Again, it's only a matter of time until Venenu, instead of hitting you for 170 with an auto attack, is going to start hitting you for 370 with that auto attack, and pretty close to that mark right now. Kronos' passive is that he gets extra power for every minute that goes by in the game. 33 minutes in nearly. It's a good amount of extra power for Venenu, and once that Rod of Tahuti's done, it's going to become scarier for Luminosity.
Now Luminosity looking to push up this left-hand side. Got the 3-2 push going on as they also try to bring in some of the minion waves in middle. I think they want to give this one more try as everyone but Jeff Hindler does still have that Fire Giant buff for a few more seconds, but it actually is going to fall off in about 5 this time, getting a lot more damage onto the actual Phoenix this time. And it's very low. Cacnonian Boar comes out to try and get the stun. It's not quite enough as the Phoenix does fall. Barracuda gonna have to run out of this one though. Benji trying to put some trouble into Jeff Hindler while Mask is up in the air. Scream jumps out, so he won't be an available target. Baskin also very low. Sprint comes out. Mask lands to try and slow down the push from Benji, and it is enough for the moment, but Benji dashing back in. Mask gets the stun, and that's enough to let them get out with the Phoenix at least.
Benji doing such a good job in this game of forcing back Barracuda. Barra has to beads that stun from RTO right at the beginning of that second Phoenix siege, and that means that he's very vulnerable for the rest of the team fight. Scream doesn't get a chance to get in and find that kill onto Barra in response, but he has to ult away as soon as the Phoenix is done. All in all, another solid defense from E United.
And this time it wasn't some big initiation coming out from Jeff Hindler. They just kind of were able to move in, get the damage off on the structure, and then back off. Now they're going to be in position for this Fire Giant, which is about 5 seconds from respawning, and E United had to worry about that Fire Minion wave in middle.
And with FG being up right now, take a look at the relics for the carries of Luminosity. 2 sets of Purification Beads down. Now remember, Baskin does have that Magi's Blessing, so it's a little bit less worrying for him, but Barra has to be quick on the Aegis and the airstrike whenever Scream or Benji get on top of him in this next siege.
And our gold lead is still relevant at this point in the game, as not everyone's 6 slotted for United. Venenu still working on his build, Polar Bear Mike still working, as is Panda Cat, while just about everyone for Luminosity is 6 slotted out, and instead going to be trying to work on some potions if they back and come back in to make another push. Mid Phoenix has already fallen, and that mini wave is not too far from being another concern Luminosity had to worry about it. All 5 members of LG group up, and they get the Magi's, looks like, off basket.
They get the Magi's and the passive massive the Ankile off of Mask at the same time.
Three-man
Good
this
start
time
by Jeff Hinla, finding 3 with that Cataclysm.
And now Matt's ready to drop down. He does come in onto Benji. Low health for Jeff Hinla, though, who again took way too much damage from the Phoenix. Scream comes in, able to clean that one up. Phoenix still half health, and Barracuda, that's his focus in this engagement. In the back, Venenu has to back off way too low. Phoenix does eventually fall, and they trade only 1 life for it. Good stun from Polar Bear Mike. Sets up the damage from Panda Cat.
Scream still on the chase. He's got some extra movement speed from the Winged Blade and the Katana. I don't know if he's going to be able to catch a good slow there by Panda Cat as Scream dashes forward, finds the Cobra's Kiss onto 1, but Mask still safe to dash away. Losing 2 to get the right side of Phoenix, as long as LG can escape with their remaining 3, is still an okay trade for them, because look at how much damage E United's Titan just took from that Fire Minion wave in mid, down to about 6k HP.
We just saw this in set 1. You got to make sure you don't let those minions come in to the Titan room. They can take the game away from you. Not quite as late into the game then, though, so not as much E United have to worry about. But take a look down here. Luminosity have only lost 2 tier 1 towers. Even if they do lose a fight to E United handily, it's a lot of work they got to do to get into the Titan room and start threatening them. So Luminosity can play a little bit more cavalier on these Phoenix pushes.
Panda Cat needs to be careful here, because by pulling this Gold Fury, look at where Aquarius is.
He's looping in.
Panda Cat doesn't have any beads, only the ultimate available to try and get himself away.
Now Aquarius drops his ultimate, but the real problem here is Mask. Through the Cosmos, lands right on top of Panda Cat. No way to get away from the CC chain. He gets deleted. Now it's Polar Bear Mike in the slow field from Aquarius, and this is the worst case scenario where they get picked off 1 or 2 at a time. 5 members pushing in strong against just 3 from E United. Only 2 Phoenixes stand. This could be a good push for Luminosity.
LG might be able to just walk up mid and end the game here with this Fire Minion wave.
They don't have Baskin, though.
Panda Cat is such a big deal in for player damage for E United. PBM's been doing so much CC as well. Scream gonna blink in a quick beads from Barracuda, but the turn right onto Benji.
And now there's 2 members here trying to lock him down. Those thorns are going, but now Aquarius can go in on Venenu. Benji's not here to peel, and neither is Polar Bear Mike. Minion wave coming down from mid. Baskin up on the Tycho drums, and that's gonna be enough to finish it off. Way too much damage as Scream falls as well.